I mentioned Chris Sutton at the top of the show on obviously an inferior podcast. He even went as far as to say Celtic made St Mirren look like Brazil, and he ruled out Celtic now winning the title. He says for him, Celtic don't have the legs, they don't have the goals, they're not going to win it. Basically, roundabout way I'm asking you, Martin O'Neill, we all know he's a legend for coming back in. I would put forward that Celtic are only in a title race because he's been there. But is he above criticism? Does he deserve to be scrutinised for Celtic's level of performance, or is this just really he's doing the best with what he can, with the tools he's got?
I can understand both sides of the argument. Like, Martin O'Neill deserves enormous credit, and he has had enormous credit for the results that he has managed to produce since, over his 2 spells, not only domestically but in Europe. You think of those results away to Stuttgart, Feyenoord, yeah, exactly. So he has produced decent results in Europe. Domestically, just about, most of the time Celtic have just got over the line with him in charge. Obviously, there's been a couple of blemishes here and there, like Dundee United a couple of weeks ago. But overall, I don't think there's anybody else that could have come in and done the job that he's done. But the problem is the style of football. It's been torture to watch at times. Let's be honest. But is it because of the tools he's been left to work with? And I'd probably say yes. It's not as if Celtic were playing swashbuckling football under Brendan Rodgers at the start of the season. They weren't.
Exactly.
The Champions League to Mirrors from Kazakhstan, which we all know. We're not going to go over that again. They lost to Dundee 2-0, lost to Hearts convincingly. So it's not as if the football suddenly plummeted. The style of football suddenly kind of plummeted. It's nothing to do with that. It's just the fact that the squad simply isn't good enough. I don't think they've got we've been through it all before, but they don't have the resources, don't have the quality in the squad to play the style of football which Celtic fans have been accustomed to for so many years. And I think, to be honest, I don't think Martin O'Neill is really that bothered about the style of football. Obviously, like we touched upon, you prefer the team to be scoring a lot more goals, but his focus and his priority will just be getting the team over the line. He'll be looking to win these last 5 league games, plus obviously the potential 2 games in the Scottish Cup, which would be a double. But fans are paying hard-earned money to go and watch Celtic. It's what, £900 odd for a season ticket in some areas, 40 odd quid for a match ticket. So they deserve to be entertained. Football's an entertainment business, and right now this style of football just it's not been great at all. So I think, yeah, there's obviously bigger priorities, which is obviously getting the wins, which they're doing. But it's been difficult this season. I can understand why perhaps fans are expecting a wee bit more.
There was a thing last week, Ryan, about Martin O'Neill and I think Mark Fotheringham being spotted at a Preston match, apparently watching 2 or 3 players. That might suggest that perhaps there's a role for both of them next season. Where do you stand in that? If Martin O'Neill was offered a rolling contract to be the manager next season, would you be quite happy with
that? He cleverly kind of avoids this question whenever you put it to him. The last time we did was a few weeks ago, and obviously this is the written presser. It's aside from the broadcast, so you get a kind of good round the table discussion with him, and he's a bit more open, and he's always great to talk to. But he is the expert avoiding these questions, and he kind of skirted around it, and he said that basically he heavily hinted he would be interested in staying at Celtic in some sort of capacity. Whether that's manager or not, I don't know. Yes, he's 74. I get that, right? But he doesn't act like a 74-year-old. He's got bundles of energy. He's clearly missed management. I think he's loving it. He says he doesn't enjoy it. He's not really enjoying it. He's been open about the nerves he gets before games, but I think he's loving being back in management. And there is the prospect of rebuilding this team from scratch, really.
Yeah.
The problem is, I think if you're going to do that, I think you need to have a manager that is prepared to be here at Celtic for 2-3 years minimum. Is Martin O'Neill going to be the man that's able to do that? Will he, that will take him up to 77-year-old? I'm not so sure. I don't think it would be wise for Celtic to keep a manager like Martin in place for an additional year. I think you need somebody to come in, buy the players for the long term, and implement the style of football for the long term and build from there. I think Martin. I think he's got so much knowledge, as we all know. He's an expert in the game, and he's still got so much more to give. So I think there could be a role for Martin O'Neill potentially upstairs in some sort of capacity, like an advisory role, which he was the one that actually put forward. He put that forward in the discussion we had with him a few weeks ago, just as an example. So I think that absolutely there is a role for him. You know, Celtic let him go in December. I don't think they can afford to do it again. They need some real kind of football people in place now if there's going to be a structural overhaul. And he would absolutely have a massive part to play in that. You talk about kind of Sean Maloney, Mark Fotheringham as well. I think, you know, Sean Maloney's referenced a few times that he wouldn't mind going back to his position as the professional loan player pathways manager. I think that was the official title. But he is highly respected at Lennoxtown by the Celtic squad. He's a former Belgium coach. You wonder if there's links there with Roberto Martinez that just aren't going away if Sean Maloney could play a part in that. And then there's Mark Fotheringham, who I think kind of knits it all together. He's the guy that the Celtic players really love and bounce off, and kind of brings the camaraderie, you know, lifts the spirits, a bit of humour in the ground, the training ground, which every team needs. So I think there's room for all three of them to stay at Celtic. It's just a case of where and what roles they would fit in.
My only, I've said this a few times on here and on Hotline Live, I just feel that there's so much work to do. I mean, almost every facet, every aspect of the club needs to be either replaced or upgraded or enhanced. I just think there's so much work to do. Martin and Sean Maloney and Mark Fotheringham are already in place. If they've already got 4 or 5 signing targets, I think there might be a temptation just to go, right, you know what, there's so much to do. We can't do it all in one summer. Let's stick with this team for another season.